Alright, we make a quick video on how to review and check out these new headlights we got in. We were running some halogen bulbs that were 80-100 watt, which are above stock halogen bulbs, or 55-65,
yeah, that's it.
which is low and high beam. These are 9007 bulbs.
HB5, if you want to go technical.
Yeah, HB5.
Yeah, that's crossover.
Right. Okay. So the 9007 HB5 there's sort of limited options for plug and play on LED lighting. So we decided to run LED lighting for the headlights, even though I don't like LEDs that much. I prefer old halogens because we're burning up our sockets running 80-100, and we're also torturing our poor headlight switch and fuse box. So we're going to try halogen, and we're going to try these $45 Chinese halogen lights because there's not too many options for halogen for this particular bulb. So where's our halogen box at?
Should be right here.
All right, so this is our old cargo van that we've been kind of making videos on here and there, kind of fixing it up since we have another one. This is an old 99, but we're kind of getting the industrial look that we were looking for. We threw some running boards on there. We found that these cheap stainless running boards tucked under pretty far. They're not good. They're good for stepping, but you don't get a wide step. That's okay, because we needed something to add depth to the truck. We wanted this van to have sort of a deep look to it. And so anyway, let's get back to the headlights. These are aftermarket lenses I put on there 4 years ago. I hate aftermarket parts. I like things from the factory. But if you have to use an aftermarket headlights, these turned out to last a pretty long time. They got a good shine on them still. And they've been in the sun. They've been exposed to the sun a lot. And like I said, I think they're about 4 years old. And these lights were made by
Eagle Eyes, I think.
Eagle Eyes, which is just some cheap, probably Taiwan Chinese company. But for some reason, they hold up to the UV light pretty good. I mean, they haven't turned yellow on us or cracked from rocks. But anyway, here are the bulbs. So what we got in there now is we had to put stock headlights back in there. So we got 55-65 orange halogen lights right now. So let me turn it on. Let me get this show started. Stop the video for a minute. Okay, so we got the oranges on. Those are 55-65. Back up over here. What are you showing on that? Oh, okay. Film the headlight. Don't show bright. Bright. Down. Let's try to change the driver's side. See what happens. Now these are
Those are only about $42.
These are $42, but you know, this is the first thing that pops up when you type in 9007 plug and play LED headlights. It's supposed to have a 2-year warranty. You know, it's got a cooling fan, all that nonsense, and it's supposed to be a bright white. They're supposed to be a 65. Now I'm sure they're not as bright as anything, you know, in the $150 range on the market, but I didn't see a lot of those lights advertised for the plug and play for the 9007 bulb. But here's the temp. The 65K, I think, is the color. That means it's a bright light, a bright white.
It's like close to blue almost.
Yeah, but you don't. Somewhere in the 7s is probably a blue. And so here's the unboxing of the bulbs. They put them in a box. Probably cost more than a bulb. So here's the funny looking bulb. It's supposed to have a fan in it. So it looks like it's a plug and play. The only thing we don't know is, and we're going to find out in a minute, is whether or not these are directional, meaning you have to rotate them to get a better shining light.
I remember reading on forums, some people had problems fitting them in certain vehicles.
Well, it depends on what vehicle they had. So you can pull your clips up like this and get your headlight to come loose. And sometimes you have to play with these. You push them forward and then pull them up. Okay, and so you play with it like that, back and forth. Now here's where we changed our plug harness. That's a regular Dorman replacement with some butt connectors because we were burning them up. See, now my wire is not hot on regular, and the engine's not running, so we don't have a full brightness to the light, full power. So we'll go ahead and unplug it, and we'll try one of these bulbs. And let's pay attention to how this went in.
There we go, like that pretty much.
I don't know about that. Let's see. You say it's supposed to go that way, but that kind of kicks that tab over a little far. Let me see if maybe there's a right and left. No, they look like they're the same. Let's try it. Okay, pull that out. Regular old cheap halogen. We put these funny looking space age bulbs in. And I guess they're set for a certain direction, which is different than what we have, because they're not going in easy, which kind of sucks because that's a lot of money wasted for this shit. Okay, so you got 3 prongs in there, and it looks like this will stop you if you don't put them in right. So they are directional, so maybe they go in sideways like this. Okay, we'll cut the video so we don't waste your time. Wait, there we go. Have them on.
Alright, there we go.
So is it one direction, and that's that way.
I guess that's the problem people were having.
That would definitely, I could see how people would see that's a problem.
Some people with Nissans, and then somebody.
Let's plug it in and see what we get.
Other things.
Oh shit. That's pretty damn bright.
Yeah. Is that low?
Yeah, it's low beam.
Damn.
Let's even see if high works. Hold it here. And it does throw off some heat. Now, this review is not for a long-term review. This is a short-term review because we don't know how long they're going to last. Okay, so that's supposed to be bright.
Good.
That's dim, bright.
Yep.
Dim, bright.
Yep, high beams and low beams.
That sure is a funny looking pattern. That's a funny looking pattern, but you know what? These headlights threw out a funny pattern before. So let me check something here. I'm not getting hot anywhere, so that's good news.
Like we were before?
Yeah, like we were with those 8000s. Those halogen 8000s, man, they had this socket smoking. I melted one of the sockets. Now it took time, but it melted.
Ah, they faced sideways.
So it goes like that, right?
Yeah, sideways in like that.
Right, so this notch fits the top of the light. This is the top of the light lens. Let me try another one. Let me put this where I don't melt it. Well, that looks the same. Looks like it's going to throw out the same light in the same direction. So let me try this bulb and see if it works. And if it does, we'll just put it back together like this, and then we'll film what we got. Okay, so we're on.
Try high and low again.
We got 2 batteries in this truck, so I'm not worried about killing a battery. Now this light is supposed to draw about 30 watts.
Which is great.
Which is great, because that'll reduce heat on your switch and wiring. Now, even though they're brighter...
And battery drain, don't forget that.
Yeah, and battery drain. So even though they're brighter, doesn't mean that they're going to take the same power. So that's the joy of switching over to LED, even though I like traditional bulbs better. One of the joys are to have your wiring and your switch and all that saved.
Also, keep in mind this is a '99. Some of the newer vehicles have like
Resistors.
daytime running lights and resistors and stuff, and that might mess with it.
Yeah, the resistors on newer vehicles where it takes some resistance to shut off the lights. They're hooked to a relay and all that. So here we go. Here's the result. Back up and do both lights, please. Okay, so that's the result of both headlights. You can obviously see the difference. That's on regular. It's not brights. Now we're gonna have to readjust the headlights, I'm sure. And we're probably gonna have to deal with some spottiness here and there, but you know, it looks better than that funky yellow. So we're gonna have to deal with that. Also, with the embargo that's placed on China, I'm sure after this COVID-19 crap, you're gonna have a hard time getting some of these, you know, Chinese bulbs and stuff like that. So you might want to get some of them now if you want to have any Chinese junk, and you don't want to have to pay a fortune until at least the U.S. economy can start making their own bulb and manufacturing their own stuff here, which would be great. But until that time, you can maybe stock up on some cheap Chinese $40 headlights like this, $45 on eBay. They're sold all day on there for 9,007. Anyway, we had some electrical issues with brights from using heavy duty lights. We found out that tracing back through the system that this particular model vehicle, 99, 2000, etc., has the headlamp ran through, the brights ran through the actual headlight dimmer, the selector switch, the high-low beam selector, which is the turn signal knob. So we're only getting 11.5 volts when they're on high beam. Now on low beam they're getting their full wattage because they're not using that gizmo to switch out, so power's not running through that. So we think that something in the turn signal mechanism is probably weak. There's a switch in there that's probably weak, so we're going to replace that whole turn signal assembly, which we should be able to get on eBay pretty cheap. You know, we should be able to get an OEM, like maybe even a Dorman, for about 60, 70 bucks, maybe $100 if we're lucky, something in that price range. So we're going to replace our blinker turn signal assembly switch, which is pretty easy to change. I mean, it's only 4 screws on the bottom cover. Drop that off, and then you can raise the top cover, and then from there you can get to that switch. So you might want to check your wiring back here behind your lights to see what kind of wattage you're actually putting out, because I'm putting out about 12 with the engine off right now to the regular beam, but when I switch to high beam I'm only getting about 11.5. I know that already because I've tested it numerous times. I'm even getting 11.5 while the truck is running. That's what the 140 amp alternator putting out in 2 batteries. So that's something you guys might want to look into if your high beams aren't as bright as they should be. If you don't see a big difference, or you actually see a dimmer light. So we'll go ahead and check it. But anyway, when we check the voltage to high beam, which I think is this side right here, from here to here is your high beam test, and I think we're getting very low wattage, so it's something to be mindful of. Alright, change this bulb. Okay, so remember the bulbs go sideways like I told you. Let's see if we can turn them around, face it the other way. No, we actually can't. There's only one way to install this bulb. Can't turn it around. So they're both kind of facing the same direction. That's funny. But I don't have a problem with it. Anyway, so they do put off a little bit of heat too. It's pretty odd that an LED puts off that much heat, but I guess you guys probably know more about LEDs than I do. I don't really like LED headlights too much. Especially the super bright LEDs. But but these are okay.
I mean the ones that shine in your face when you're going across the interstate?
Well, it just makes you look like a punk kid driving around with a bright ass bunch of LEDs. Yeah, you can see the
passenger needs to go down a little bit or the driver needs to come up.
Yeah, we'll adjust all that. But, you know, having really bright LEDs like that on a shitty car kind of makes you look, you know, like a cop magnet. I mean, I guess if I was a cop, I'd probably pull somebody over with lights like that just to screw with them.
I'll have to make an update on this video. Tell people if they went out, if they were garbage, what.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do an update to it and see if they're garbage. And if you don't see an update come in about me bitching about the lights going out on me or blinking and flickering and doing all the LED crap that they do when you do the tail lights and stuff, if they don't do that to me, then you won't see another video on it. But if you see another video on it from me in a couple of months, then you know these lights were garbage. I had complaints about them. But so far, I expect for a 2-year warranty, which I don't know how I'm going to get China to honor a warranty under these circumstances.
Auxito.
But I'm sure they have some kind of manufacturer here or somewhere. So here's your Auxito, Tuxedo, whatever.
I do know that they work in Tauruses and not expeditions, excursions.
Yeah, but there's a whole bunch of other vehicles that 9,007 bulbs fit, or H5.
The big problem was that the bulb was too long, so it was hitting
the reflector.
It was hitting reflectors and yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, these are non. What do they call that? Where there's a reflector in the light. Projection. These are non-projection headlights.
Yeah.
The difference is projection versus non-projection is this light just uses like a regular flashlight lens that shines outward and relies on the bulb. A projector would be a shield in front of that bulb on the newer vehicles that reflect the light backwards, hit that ring, and then radiate forward. That reflector, that piece of steel that you see inside your light lens, would probably get in the way of some of these longer bulbs. But I didn't really see them to be that long versus the stock bulb. So imagine some vehicles with smaller headlights that this might not fit in. But for the Econolines, well, this is my first time putting them in, so you see. Let me start the engine, see if it gets any brighter. So you know what you're dealing with. Brighter?
A little bit.
Saw that flicker?
Yeah.
So we'll make an adjustment later when we put the...
I guess when the night comes, we'll have to take it down the road, see how it looks.
Yeah. We'll take the 7.3 liter diesel springs and put them in next week first, and then we'll adjust these headlights for the road.
Yeah, those headlights are bright. Ooh, high beams. High beams are real bright.